Christmas at Electroland is 3 times fun, 3 times amazing, and 3 times better. With the power of 3 of your favorite brands, Samsung, Media, and NASCO, we present to you the Electroland Triple Bronya Treat promotion. We bring you all the electronics you need at great discounts, and not only that, we're adding gifts like gas cookers, rice cookers, phones, irons, and many more. The only place to be this Christmas is at Electroland. Visit any of our shops nationwide for your own Triple Bronya treat. Merry Christmas from Electroland.
Merry Christmas from Electroland.
Another 17th December 2019. Abatuo Komesa ABA District Assembly Abatuo. Unit Committee Abatuo. Any referendum. Every anapanon so copy menumre no num. Eyade here say obi biade ne ho behye sa abatuo we mu. Amayetumi ayi nkofo amode mpuntu ebeba ye mantem. Eya sade say abatuni bia ba akoto aba eyi onimpa a ope. Abatuo ne beba so aworo mu mienu. Any referendum anasa kire wadwen. Krata edi kan a ye beba wo ne ye referendum anasa kire wadwen. To aba say ane ema akokɔ srade ana yellow ana to aba ma brown ana dodo ye say dabi. Say uji tuma na unji ntum say amanyofo de omo ho behye mantem abatuo ni mu. Krata etoso mienu a ye beba wo ne ye district assembly abatuo no. Na wo say wo to aba ma onimpa ba akope krata etoso miensan de bema woni ye unit committee abatuo no na wasa woto aba no ma nimpa numpe etia mra ma obi biara ontro ne din wa abatuo huma ni mu se oba koto aba e wo bi foforo din mu se nimpa no te ase anasa onte ase Kayosa district assembly abatuo no unit committee abatuo no any referendum no ebe koso 17 December 2019 efri anopa no nso kopi menumre no num wa abatuo na kire wutumi.
If I don't see this wedding with my own eyeballs, dear, it's not me.
Church rise.
I just going to the church. Okay, let me connect my earpiece.
Now you may. Renano.
I see some food stuff meats by they are sharing here. For salam. Buffet papa.
Enjoy even more value with MTN Free After One. You only pay for the first minute of your call on MTN Free After One, and the rest is free. Plus, you enjoy free 50 megabytes worth of data to browse your favorite sites. Won't pay where? Won't pay dang. Dial *315# to sign up now.
We day for you everywhere you go.
With our new Always On bundles, you'll never run out of data in the middle of any important activity, no matter what. Choose from our Always On plans and enjoy true 4G LTE that never stops.
Surfline, it's about time.
It's Christmas again, the time to be jolly. Christmas at Electroland is 3 times fun, 3 times amazing, and 3 times better. With the power of 3 of your favorite brands, Samsung, Media, and NASCO, we present to you the Electroland Triple Bronya Treat promotion. We bring you all the electronics you need at great discounts, and not only that, we're adding gifts like gas cookers, rice cookers, phones, irons, and many more. The only place to be this Christmas is at Electroland. Visit any of our shops nationwide for your own Triple Bronya treat. Merry Christmas from Electroland.
Merry Christmas from Electroland.
Since the beginning of the operation of the 1992 Constitution, the local government system in Ghana has operated pursuant to Article 243 of the 1992 Constitution. It allows the President to appoint district chief executives from every district. The membership of the district assemblies were also elected, circumscribed by the limitations created under Article 55 Clause 3 of the 1992 Constitution, which contains instructions to political parties not to sponsor candidates for district assembly or lower local government units. The operation of the local government system in Ghana since 1992 has been widely deficient, to the point where people hardly know the names of the district chief executives in their own districts. So, the local government system in Ghana has not worked. In January 2015, civil society were excited when this happened.
Speaker, yet another ambitious decentralization exercise is the expansion of full democracy to local government. A critical step to this end is the direct election of metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives on a partisan basis. It is a firm manifesto commitment of the new patriotic party. Further, my discussions with the nation's leaders, including the former presidents of the Republic, convinced me that it is a step that we must take. The constitutional impediment to this, in Article 55 of the Constitution, an entrenched clause, must therefore be removed. To ensure the judicious use of the country's resources, I propose that the constitutional processes for a referendum should be initiated in such a manner that the holding of the referendum will take place at the same time as next year's district assembly elections. If successful, the outcome of the referendum will mean that the current set of MMDCEs will be the last batch of chief executives to be appointed under the current system. I have no doubt that the resourceful Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Hajia Alima Mahama, MP for Narerigu Gambaga, will be able to shepherd this process to a positive conclusion.
The said referendum has now been set for 17th December 2019. The question for the referendum is as follows. Are you in favor of a bill to amend Clause 3 of Article 55 of the 1992 Constitution to allow political parties to sponsor candidates for elections to district assemblies or lower local government units? The electorate have been invited to vote a yes or a no to this question. Since then, some people have campaigned for a yes vote, whilst others have campaigned for a no vote. What you are about to see is a thesis of a journalist who supports the yes vote. Hello, so yes, we are ready now to share with you our thesis, and we're going to urge upon you, all of you, our viewers tonight, to consider the information that we're going to give you, and hopefully that should bring you to a position of a very major yes vote for the elections of December 17th of 2019, the referendum that is asking us to amend a certain article in the Constitution to get to the point where we can politically elect our leaders at the local level. We would like to begin from the historical perspectives, as we always do on this program, and we will take you far back in time just to share a little bit of information. It's kind of information that's not directly useful, but it's good information for the archives. It is information that tells us the first time that district assembly or mayor elections were conducted in Ghana. Ghana is a serious country. Do you know how long or the first time we ever elected a mayor? It was in the year 1858. And the year 1889, the two ordinances, that's how the laws were called, what we call Act of Parliament tonight, they were called ordinances of the colonial authority. So the two ordinances were the municipal ordinances, and they were passed in 1858 and 1889 as follows. Have a look. So the first ordinance, as you can see on the screen now, is the Municipal Corporations Ordinance 1858. And is an ordinance adopted on the 10th of May 1858 that provided for municipal elections of mayors and councillors and the establishment of municipal courts in the protectorate. The corporation was authorized to assess house taxes. That's very important for our argument tonight. This law was repealed in 1861 after the corporations had been established in Jamestown and Cape Coast. Now look at the next one, Municipal Ordinance of 1889. It was an ordinance that provided for municipal councils to be elected by qualified voters. The councils will deal with municipal services and could levy a house tax to pay for these services. Local opposition to the tax kept the ordinance inhibited in its implementation, but the purpose, as you can see, was the house taxes and also for them to deliver services to the local authority. So these were the two starting ordinances where we were electing mayors, 1858 and 1889. That's Ghana for you. So that's how the history started, 1885 and 1889. Those of you who are history students, keep that in mind. And you can get this in this book entitled The Dictionary of Ghana. HD Dictionary of Ghana is by Mr. David Oswansa. Okay, so tonight we're going to build our analysis on three fundamental pillars. So we're going to build our analysis on the background. The background is going to show how we came by these constitutional provisions that we now want to amend. Article 243 of the 1992 Constitution and Article 55(3) also of the 1992 Constitution. These are the two articles that create the local government system that we now have. And these are the two articles that we wish to amend. Then we'll be finding out how did we come to this point. And we will be telling you how we came to that point. You should wait for that. Now, pillar number 2, upon which we build analysis, is that the system of Ghanaian politics as we have it today is big on the winner-takes-all situation. The winner-takes-all means that whoever wins the presidential elections, and since 1992, whoever has won the presidential elections has also won the parliamentary elections. So whoever wins the presidential and the parliamentary elections takes everything that there is to take in executive authority provision in Ghana. Every executive authority and legislative authority that will be applied to conduct the Ghanaian state is won by a particular group of people. The winner takes all is a canker that has affected our politics. Now, it is the winner takes all that has also created the acrimony that we see in our politics today, for which reason some of our noble people want us to vote no, because they are worried that the acrimony that you see at the political level would also be applied to the district assembly level. But this is the very cure. This is the panacea to the acrimonious politics that we have gotten in Ghana. The acrimonious politics that we have gotten in Ghana arises out of the fact that the winner takes all is painful. And so when you don't win, even if you lose by 1, if you lose the presidential election by 20,000, you will still lose everything there is to lose in government. It's a winner takes all situation. It doesn't augur well. Civil society have held countless discussions. I have participated in some by the IEA that has been discussing how we can deconstruct the winner takes all. It's the winner takes all that has created that acrimony. That's a pillar number 2 upon which we'll build this analysis. The final pillar that we'll build this analysis on is what we call the development efficiency syndrome. We should go to a yes vote, and that way we'll get a development efficiency. So these are the 3 pillars that we are building the thesis upon. Let's start right away and get into the meat of the conversation, and let's look at the background. So the background to this is that the 1992 Constitution, which we all massively voted for, and which is the Constitution that has applied in Ghana for the longest lasting Constitution and the most successful, was drafted by a group of people, consultative assembly, represented by all over the country. But they put in these clauses in the Constitution, and it is these clauses that dictate that we now have to have the local government system that we now have. Now, what we are finding out is that there was a particular difficulty. And if you look at Ghana's political history, of course, we know that already, from Nkrumah to Buzia to Achampon, Liman, and then Rawlings. Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, upon his second coming in 1981, was determined to rule Ghana for a considerable length of time. That has become very obvious to any political scientist or any researcher. Rawlings' first coming was not entirely in his control. And this was the June 4th uprising, where he was released from prison. He was taken to broadcasting house to speak to broadcasting and to broadcast that he was the leader of the coup d'etat. And that coup d'etat was intended to end all coups, as one of the main architects of the coup, Boachijan, would have us believe. Executions were conducted, and they stepped back and then organized elections, and the elections were won by a certain political party. But when Flight Lieutenant Rawlings returned in 1981, it appeared that he was determined to rule Ghana for a long time. But he could not resist the pressures that were coming upon him from the international community, especially from sometime in 1987. The pressure began to build on the PNDC military junta that they should hand over power. I'm talking about how the district assembly were made to operate the way that they are operating today. Now, this international pressure on the military junta then got the intellectuals in the PNDC to begin to think about how to ease Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, who was the lion in the room, how to ease him, but he was a popular lion, by the way, and how to ease him out into constitutional rule. This was the big issue that confronted the members of the Provisional National Defense Council. So a group of them, the leading thinkers among them, decided that they were going to find a way to ease Rawlings out easily. To do that, you had to introduce a constitution that did not detract from the powers that the military junta operated. It did not detract from the powers that the military junta had in terms of prosecuting the government agenda. The PNDC as a military junta had some powers in terms of the way they prosecute the government agenda. They appointed the police head, they appointed the military heads, they appointed heads of government departments, heads of government bank. Every appointment was made by the military junta. And they wanted Flight Lieutenant Rawlings to feel comfortable to move into a democratic situation. And so that democratic situation in terms of the constitution that will be presented to Rawlings must be indicative of that particular desire. It must maintain, hold, and express that desire in all its colors to satisfy the military junta that moving away from military rule to democratic rule will not take away anything from Flight Lieutenant Rawlings. Jerry John himself was hostile to the democratization of the process. And in the period of 1989 and 1987 and 1988, JJ went around the country, and almost every time he spoke, he had opportunity, or he found opportunity, to criticize politics and politicians of old. JJ always found opportunity to do that. Have a look at this video. This was sometime in 1988 when JJ was speaking to some people, and there again, he criticized the old politicians. He did not like to move to become a democratic leader. This is JJ.
At least we can stand our ground with dignity. When you decide to insult that dignity, that one, you're asking for trouble. Sometimes these politicians can come and steal from you. They will do you in, but at the end of the day, they'll come and sit with you and drink small pito, or come and eat small kenke with you. The fact that he's big man, he's doing this with you, you seem to overlook some of his faults.
So you see the posture of Mr. Rawlings there. Now let's get into some more details and some more confessions here from Dr. Obed Asamoah and Mr. Kwame Nkrumah, who give some confessions about how this whole process was organized. So it was the organization of this process, the way that it was done, that got the district assemblies to be the way they are, non-partisan. And you'll find out later that it wasn't actually non-partisan. The PNDC organized it, but non-partisan, and people should not be elected. The president was going to appoint. So those who were elected on a non-partisan basis. That's the assembly members. The boss of the district, which was the district chief executive, or the municipal chief executive, or the mayor for that matter, was to be appointed by the president, so that it maintains the power that the military junta had over the local government arrangements. Here is first Dr. Obed Asamoah talking to us in 2016 during a documentary interview about the circumstances of the time. The military junta that overthrew the government of Kwame Nkrumah did not form themselves into a political party to participate. They didn't do that. Once again, fast forward to 1979, the military junta, the AFRC, led by J.J. Rawlings, that overthrew the existing system, did not participate in the elections. The AFRC did not convert themselves into a political party to now participate in the elections. As military men, they believed that they had done justice to the Republic of Ghana. They had served their nation by what they called the house cleaning, completing the house cleaning, and therefore they exited themselves out, organized the elections as a referee, and allowed the winner to win and allowed the political process to flow once again. This was very different, and this was the first time in the history of this republic and in the history of many African countries that a military junta that was to organize the elections wanted also to participate, because Flight Lieutenant Rawlings wanted to stay in power for longer than the 10 or 11 years that he had done by the time the pressure was on him to democratize. So they had to ease him, convince him to ease him from a military ruler onto a civilian ruler. To do this, the constitution that was presented to him had to be such that his powers as military will be the same. That is why the local government system is what it is. So we'll come and show you that this local government system was created, it was stirred up, it was cleverly orchestrated and constructed for a single selfish purpose. That selfish purpose expired in 1993. That is why for 35 years the local government system has not worked, because the whole system, as you see it, was created for a selfish purpose to ease Flight Lieutenant Rawlings and his military junta into a constitutional arrangement. This confession has been made by Dr. Obed Asamoah and Professor Kwame Nkrumah. We're going to show it to you now. So first, here Obed Asamoah, who talks about how at that time they had to decide to be part of the election, as unlike it had been before, that some of them even didn't want that, but he and other people wanted it. Here is Obed Asamoah.
Well, the 92 campaign, you know, first of all, there was an argument within the PNDC as to whether we could just return the country to constitutional rule or whether the PNDC should promote a political party. And I was one of the advocates of the PNDC promoting a political party. I advocated very strongly that we should try and set up a political party which will promote the values of the PNDC. I said it's not enough just to get out of office. You know, we should, if you believe in what you are doing and you believe that those values were worth continuing, then we should set up a party that will continue those values.
So you heard Dr. Obed Asamoah. Professor Kwame Nkrumah corroborates that position in this way. Let's listen to Professor Kwame Nkrumah. And all of these interviews were recorded in 2016. Yes, Kwame Nkrumah.
PNDC also did something which is not very generally known. It was very concerned about its own popularity and whether, because it didn't have a political tradition, it could win an election. Because there were internal debates about whether we should disperse and go back to our original parties, form a new party, or try and take over one of the existing parties, you know.
And so, with this arrangement, how was the PNDC going to put themselves together in this system? What role were the district assemblies supposed to play? The district assembly election that had occurred in 1988, what role were they supposed to play? And Kwame Nkrumah is going to reveal a secret and the real reason why the district assemblies were created the way they were created under Article 55 of the Constitution and Article 243 of the Constitution. 243 allows the president to appoint district chief executive. 55 says that make it non-partisan. Kwame Nkrumah is revealing why they did that, and they did it for the purpose of the 1992 election. They put it in the Constitution, and that has been our local government system since. We are saying tonight that the purpose that was created for the local government system as it is today was a selfish purpose. It was a very clever thing to do, but it was selfish, and it was designed for a singular reason. So when that reason expired, the local government system has become superfluous, is irrelevant, is incoherent. It has no purpose for any Ghanaian living in Ghana today. Here's Kwame Nkrumah revealing the secret of why this was done and how it was done.
Because the district assemblies had also come into existence, and the elections to the assemblies had been fought on individual basis, not on partisan basis. Whoever controlled the district assemblies actually controlled the politics at the time, because every elected assembly member needed a local organization to work for him. Now, this is one of the things that the parties who were in opposition did not realize and they did not appreciate. But the PNDC was very much aware of it. So they made sure that a lot of cadres, other people, actually contested the district assembly elections. And you needed 25 people to sponsor you to be a candidate for the district assembly elections. And those people usually became the core of your organizational base. So it was very easy for the NDC, when it came into existence, to take over the support basis of the individual elected assembly members and then use them as the core of their organization, which is what made it possible for the NDC to win.
So you heard Kwame Nkrumah, and later on this will be on video on demand, so you can forward and rewind as often as you want. But that was Kwame Nkrumah, okay? He spoke to us in 2016 as part of a documentary that we were recording with him. Now, there was another reason, this just also feeds into the whole conversation, that the PNDC were worried that for the first time they were the military junta and they were easing themselves into democratization. They were not sure whether Flight Lieutenant Rawlings was actually going to, they were not sure whether they were going to win this election. They were not sure whether they were going to win both the presidential election and the parliamentary election. So in that election, the voting was split. And Kwame Nkrumah once again reveals why they decided to split the voting of the presidential election away from the parliamentary election. Younger people will not understand, because for the last 8 elections or so, we vote presidential and parliamentary on the same day. But for your information, younger people, in 1992, the people of Ghana did not have that opportunity. Kwame Nkrumah is going to tell us why as the military junta and as the referees and players at the same time, they decided to change, to have a different date for the voting of the presidential election, which was in November, and then a different date for the voting of the parliamentary election. We've never done that again since 1996, so you might not have the experience. But those who were alive then and those who have read the books know that this is what happened. This is Kwame Nkrumah's confession of why they did that.
The other thing also was the fact that the elections of that year were split. We had the presidential before the parliamentary. I suspect that was because the PNDC, on their analysis, realized that President Rawlings was very popular, and that he would win the presidential, and that if he won the presidential, that would have an effect on the parliamentary. And that is exactly what happened. He won the presidential, the opposition boycotted the parliamentary, and I'll tell you something very interesting. So the first parliament of the Fourth Republic was a de facto one-party parliament, but it also enabled President Rawlings to adapt to the demands of constitutionalism more easily than if the opposition had been in parliament from day one. It would have been very, very difficult for him, because there's somebody who, not just him, all of us, he had been used to having our way for 10 years, and suddenly everything you said was being challenged in parliament. It was going to be very difficult. So it helped.
So you now understand it. We will not belabor the point, but this is the background we wanted to share with you. So this is the background from where we have come. That is why you have those articles in the Constitution, not just those articles, but there are 3 or 4 or so articles that empower the president in a certain way. One of them is Article 243 that we are talking about now, which is the president's powers to appoint the district chief executive. Ghana is the only country where that happens, where president is appointing district chief executive. Ghana is really the only country where that happens. And then you have Article 55, where they say that do it non-partisan, in a non-partisan way. They put that in the Constitution, but the purpose was for them to have their cadres in there so that the cadres will become the platform upon which they will control the country and upon which they win the election. You can decide whether that is a noble objective to have constitutional articles designed in a way to protect the military junta and to protect the ambition of Flight Lieutenant Rawlings and his friends who wanted to continue in power, or you can decide that that is not a noble way to put a national constitution together. A living organism and a living document to guide the future of the nation should not be written with parochial interest because some people have power. But this is precisely what happened, and that's why we're dealing with this local government matter. It was written with parochial interest because they were in power and they wanted to stay in power. That's all. That's why we have those articles in the Constitution. Another article we have in the Constitution that is worrying is Article 58. In Article 58, it says that the executive authority of Ghana shall vest in the president. All the executive authority of Ghana vest in one person. It doesn't say that they vest in the executive arm of government. It says it vests in the president. And within the context of the executive arm, the president appoints everyone, including the police IGP, including the military commanders, including the Kolebu Teaching Hospital boss, including the boss of Ridge Hospital. 6,000 appointments are delivered by the Ghanaian president under the 1992 Constitution, not because it was a noble way to do things, but because it served the parochial interests of a group of people who were in power at that time, and he wanted to continue in power, and they had to make it smooth. They had to make a smooth transition for their boss, Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, and for themselves, as you heard Professor Kwame Nkrumah say. So that's why we are where we are. Now, this situation has also brings us now to our second pillar of the conversation. This situation of having district assemblies the way they are, and by the way, raise your hand to me if you think that the local government system in Ghana has worked. Everyone knows that the local government system in Ghana doesn't work. Nobody knows their district chief executive. The districts are emasculated from authority. They cannot collect taxes. If they do, they collect it from Ministry of Finance in Accra. They cannot do their own roads. They don't do anything. They don't do anything. The districts are disempowered from being able to do anything because everything points to the center. And so I'll show you tonight a few things that are quite disheartening. If you had the control of district assemblies by political parties, and Kumasi metropolitan area has been won by the MPP and NDC is in power, the one who wins that is also able to collect the taxes. I think that's an argument that has not been made. If you become an elected district executive officer, you control the district. You are the president of that district. You share the power of your presidency with your assembly. The president of Ghana sitting in Accra does not have a direct control over your district. You decide whether you want the taxes in your district to be yellow, blue, or red. You have your district assembly that operates like a district parliament, almost like a pseudo-federalism of sorts. That's what we are looking for. If you elect a district chief executive on partisan lines, then we'll come to why you should elect on partisan lines, because some of the no voters say that you should elect, but you should not elect on partisan lines. We'll come and deal with that. Listen to President Mahama here. He's talking about roads. Now, he's the president of Ghana. He's sitting at the center, and he has direct responsibility for constructing roads all across the country. That is a clear indication, the best indication you could get of the failure of the local government system in Ghana. The district assembly system has woefully failed. The local government authority system in Ghana for 35 years has failed. We know why it has failed, because it was created with the parochial interest. It doesn't work. That's what we have to change, and that's the opportunity that we are getting to change on 17 December. Listen to President Mahama.
I must acknowledge the messages of appreciation we have received from residents of Teshi Tebibiano. Does any of you live there? You know what is happening in that area. Teshi Tebibiano and surrounding communities, following the fast-track rehabilitation of the road linking the area to the main Accra-Tema Beach Road, and is popularly called the Bush Road. Mr. Speaker, several road works are ongoing in Accra under the Urban Roads Project. And Mr. Speaker, 30 kilometers of road have been completed in the Garden City of Kumasi. 30 kilometers. Ask your minority leader, he'll tell you. Mr. Speaker, for those of you who don't know, ask your minority leader, he'll tell you. Many of these roads are in the Swami and Asawasi constituencies.
So that's President Mahama in his State of the Nation address. And he's talking about roads and asking MPs, do you know there? Have you been there? Because that is the center of authority of Ghana. The parliament with the president in there becomes the center of authority. The executive and the legislature are talking their power talk. And they are talking about roads that they may never go there, the roads that's their responsibility. Roads and basic developments should always be the responsibility of the mayor, the local assembly, all over the world. That's what happens. Now, part of the reason why we have this acrimonious politics in our society is this. Because when we go to an election, and you lose the election as a political party, whether you're a small party or a big party, if you lose the election, the winner of that election takes everything. So we call it winner takes all. As far back as 1991, writing a book entitled Ghana and the Rawlings Factor, Kevin Shillington, a British professor who was quite friendly with Rawlings, reminded the Consultative Assembly that was to be formed about the danger of Ghana's winner-takes-all situation historically. This is what he said in his book. His book was published before the Constitution came out. Here is what Kevin Shillington said. On page 176, Kevin Shillington writes, Ghanaian politics needed to be freed from the scourge of the winner-takes-all confrontational politics, which had discredited the parliamentarians of the country's previous 3 republics. It was with this in mind that the Asante Committee came down firmly in favor of some form of proportional representation. Government by consensus, which this system will promote, was far more in keeping with the Ghanaian national character and traditional way of doing things. At the time of writing, the Consultative Assembly had just begun its sitting. By the time this book is published, it will have completed its deliberations. If it follows the guiding principles of the Asante Committee's proposals, then it will come up with a worthy and lasting document fit to provide the sort of political stability which Ghana so badly needs and so deserves. That was Kevin Shillington writing in his book published in 1991. He said that Ghanaian politics needed to be freed from the scourge of the winner-takes-all situation. So the Consultative Assembly, the National Commission on Democracy, and the PNDC all disappointed Kevin Shillington. They ended up with a constitution that presents the clearest and the most bitter example of the winner-takes-all situation. This 17th December will be the first opportunity to deconstruct the winner-takes-all situation that has been part and parcel of our politics. Our politics is acrimonious. And some of the people voting for no or asking for a no vote are saying that our politics is too acrimonious and therefore we shouldn't bring it to the local level. This very event is the panacea to the acrimonious politics. So we have to deconstruct the politics and have other parties, smaller parties, bigger parties, every other party winning something as far as the election is concerned, winning some form of executive authority. And therefore, Article 58 will be positively undermined so that the executive authority of Ghana shall not all vest in a single individual. So political parties can look at the election in Ghana, the national election, and say that we have lost the presidency, we have lost the parliament, but we can win the Takoradi municipality next year because those elections are not going to be held the same year. So somebody can say that we have lost the presidency, we have lost the parliament, but we can win the Kumasi Metropolitan Authority elections. When you win the Kumasi Metropolitan elections, what happens? You control Kumasi, you take the taxes in Kumasi, you show your creativity and innovation in Kumasi as a political party. Political parties are the vehicles for political expression. They could be independent candidates, yes, but all over the world, political parties are the main expression of politics, are the main expression of ideas. So those people who don't like politics or who don't like politicians because of what you see in Ghana, that's going to change. That's going to change because the winner takes all is going to be broken. All of what you see is animated and engendered by the winner takes all conclusion. The winner takes all outcome, the winner takes all phenomenon is what brings about the acrimony, the pulling of knife, the killing, the blood that you see at parliamentary and presidential elections. Have a look at Nigeria. Have you considered the country Nigeria? Look at the size of Nigeria. Nigeria is a huge country. Look at the number of people in Nigeria. And imagine why their politics is not as acrimonious as small Ghana. Nigerian politics doesn't pull the knives that we pull here. Nigerian politics doesn't have the insults that you have here. Because Nigerian politics is not a winner-takes-all situation. Human beings are the same. Self-preservation is the first, as we have been told by sociologists. And so when you have a winner-takes-all situation, even if you bring angels to participate in the election, you will have the phenomenon where people are going to say every death is death, where people are going to say this election, everybody will die, where people are going to say this election is do or die. You are going to have that kind of thing. You're going to have phenomenon where somebody says this election, we are going to match them boot for boot. Because the winner of the election takes all. Look at Nigeria again. The winner doesn't take all. You know President Obasanjo, Olusegun Obasanjo, the famous two-time president of Nigeria. For the longest time that the most powerful Obasanjo was president, Lagos State was won by the opposition. So Lagos State, so that's the governor elections. So the governor of Lagos then controls Lagos. He takes the taxes of Lagos. He pays some duties to the national government, the central government, but he collects the taxes and runs Lagos. He can change Lagos the way he wants. This man on your screen here, Babatunde Fashola, was the governor of Lagos for the longest time that Obasanjo of PDP was president. His party, the opposition party, won Lagos all the time. So when his party, the ACP, goes to elections, and they lost the seat to Obasanjo, they lost the presidency to Chief Obasanjo, they were not worried because they were confident that they will always win Lagos. Now they are in power. The ACP is in power with Muhammad Buhari. One of the most powerful states in Nigeria is the River State. So River State, being one of the most powerful states in Nigeria currently, is not controlled by the government. It's controlled by the opposition PDP, and it's led by Honorable Ezenwo Nyensom Woke. That's the name of the governor of River State. He won the governorship away from the main opposition party. What is the point about running these elections without partisanship? Those of you watching, tell me how many of you, as the district assemblies occurs without partisanship, how many of you have ever voted in a district assembly election? And compared to those of you who have ever voted in a parliamentary and presidential election, you vote in the parliamentary and presidential election because political parties drive it. You are interested in it because political parties drive it. Because political parties drive it, they own it. Political parties must drive the local government election. They are going to own the development for that region. We'll have a basis to test them. If Dr. Pakwesi Indum wins the district in Komenda Egunafo Ekumfi, where he was most likely to win, his PPP party is most likely to win there because of Dr. Indum's big popularity, we now have the opportunity
opportunity to see Dr. Indum at work. As the chief executive and mayor of that place, let's see what roads he's going to build. Let's see what innovation is going to come up with taxes. And let's see that if Dr. Indum is able to do this, then he might be able to do better for the country. Dr. Indum was once a district assembly, an assemblyman. What did he achieve as assemblyman? Nothing. So he went to become an MP. The assembly elections that are held non-partisan will not engender anyone to go and vote. It will continue to be the system that was created by Kwame Nkrumah and co. to serve the purposes of the military junta. Let us break down that system. Let the politicians come in. The acrimony will die, I can assure you. The acrimony will die out of the national elections if the NDC, the MPP, the CPP, and the PNC all know that they can grab some districts in next year's election, what the Americans call the gubernatorial election. Have a look at what's happening in London right now. Right now in London, in the United Kingdom, the government is held by the Conservatives. But London, their capital city, the mayor of London, Mr. Sadiq Khan, on your screen now, is with the Labour Party. Is that not beautiful? Labour Party control London, the Conservative Party controls the government. That is what we mean by deconstructing and breaking the scourge of the winner-takes-all politics that has plagued Ghana and that has made our politics so acrimonious. The people who are looking at the acrimonious politics